This is Pelvic Pain Natters. I am Karl Monahan, and it's a Friday, so this is a Friday takeaway. Snippets of information from this week in today's episode, which is episode 32 of the Pelvic Pain Natters podcast. I'm going to cover a subject I am titling "How many arrows does your pelvic pain have?" Very cryptic, but if you've worked with me in the past, um, or you've been following me for a while, you may know that I am very interested in Eastern philosophy, philosophy of mind, philosophy of being a human. And so this is part of an Eastern philosophical model around suffering. And this is leading on and building on what I've been covering for the last handful of episodes around flare-ups and around whether we can open ourselves up in a flare-up to being open up our spectrum to be aware of other things, maybe some glimmers. Go back and check out Teflon, Velcro, and glimmers there. Having lots and lots of great feedback. People are giving me great examples of their glimmers. People are giving me really, really great example of being a little bit more open, even in spite of a flare-up, and having experiences with pain. And I've got a few examples I'm going to use today from feedback that I've had from patients in clinic, on our recover program, what I generally hear from people in their recovery, as well as an example from myself when I had my pelvic pain. I think that might also help to give you an understanding here as well. Before I go in and talk about what the two arrows philosophical model is, I just want to give you a nod to something that's about to happen later this year. So I ran the very first pelvic pain global community support group on Friday. Now it was a pilot. I'm figuring things out, but I had a group of men, about 24 men, that I split up into small groups on a Zoom meeting, and they were able to chat with other men from around the world that had similar symptoms to themselves, had a similar age range and a similar duration of symptoms. And the feedback I'm getting from that is just golden. It really, really is. This condition is incredibly isolating, and it can feel like no one really understands. A little bit more on that in today's episode. And so in me putting together this support community, I'm connecting people from around the world, giving them a chance to chat with other men with the same situation and condition as themselves, and just to create a bit of a bond, to make people feel less isolated, to make people feel like they're part of a bigger community here. I'm doing one more pilot for patients, and then I'm going to run this out across the network. So I will let you know. There'll be a chance to sign up for this. More information will come in upcoming episodes. I'll do a couple of episodes on the podcast. I'll get Tim involved in doing a podcast episode on why this is going to be such a big thing for us all, in connecting us all, providing support for us all, and giving hope. And I'm also going to run one for partners. All right, so partners and loved ones of people that are going through pelvic pain, I am going to set up a support group for you as well. Right, enough of that. You'll have to come back for future episodes to understand more about those two exciting projects up and coming. So, how many arrows does your pelvic pain have? The two arrows parable, a model of suffering. The first arrow is everyone is going to experience pain in their life. Living, being alive, is coupled with pain. All right, that is an inevitable part of being alive, apart from very, very small populations of people that are unable to feel certain types of pain. And that runs its own risks. Those populations don't tend to live particularly long at all because they're unaware that they are injuring themselves. The first arrow, everyone suffers from pain. The second arrow is around suffering. And the second arrow points to how we respond to the first arrow. And I'm going to give you some examples to help to explain this and explore this a little bit more. And this is really quite helpful and quite interesting. And the examples I'm going to give to you are real life. They're from people that I work with. Um, how we respond to pain dictates our experience of pain. So I'm going to read a message that came back from a patient of ours on the Recover program. That's our 6-month online Recover program. We're just starting month 3, um, which is planning people's self-care programs. This is from one of the participants in response to my my podcast last week on um, on our perception of suffering and pain. So this patient has pain. Thank you for Friday's takeaway, Carl. I've just watched a video on YouTube. I like the idea of a wind journal, and I'm going to try and work it into my daily routine. I've promised I'm going to do a future podcast on wind journals and what that looks like as well. Lots to come in the future. Keep tuned. Keep tuning back in. One thing I'm trying to work on is changing my perception of what is a win. Early on in my CPPS journey, and definitely in my wider experience of chronic lower back hip pain, I've focused on a win equating to no pain at all. So I was constantly feeling frustrated, disappointed because I never felt 0% pain. Sound familiar? More recently, though, I've been trying to celebrate any achievement, however small, and seeing those achievements as wins. For example, I felt pain, but I was still able to do a yoga session. I felt pain, but I was still able to engage in sexual activity. I felt pain, but I was able to sit for half an hour and read my book, etc. So here it is. This in absolute essence is I've got pain, inevitable, right? This is part of living. It's part of pelvic pain to make it really, really specific. Pain is part of pelvic pain. That is inevitable. Um, how we respond to that and how we react to it. If we're always looking for 0% symptoms in our recovery, we're always going to be frustrated. Can we have symptoms and do something else? Can we have symptoms and have other wins? I've been building on this theme. So if this is the first time you're listening to this episode, or sorry, if this is the first time you're listening to Pelvic Pain Natters, go back and listen to the previous 4 or 5 episodes. I mean, all of them. Go back and listen to all of them, but this is a theme now that's building here as well. So that's a patient from our Recover program. Earlier this week in clinic, I saw another patient who gave a great example of this, and he's changed. So we were reflecting on how he is now compared to how he was a few years ago. Similar example, he said whenever he got symptoms, this is going back 2.5 years ago. Whenever he got symptoms, he wanted to really wallow in it. He wanted to really embody how much he was suffering. And he wanted to let everyone else know just how bad that was. So he would emphasize the kind of poor me of all of this. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, I can never possibly do that. Oh, it's just awful. Pain is inevitable. How we respond to that really dictates our experience in the world as well. Let's give you some other examples here as well. So this is incredibly common. Walking down the street. So I am a patient in pain. I am walking down the street and I am looking at every other man in the street and thinking, I bet you don't have any pain in your penis. I bet you can live a perfect life and have sex whenever you want it. Oh, look, there's someone riding a bike. Oh, aren't they absolute a-holes because they're able to ride the bike, the thing I most desperately want to do. Or there's someone having a coffee there. Oh, how much would I love to have a coffee? No one knows how much I'm suffering. No one understands how bad this is for me. I know I've been there, and I'm going to give you an example from my own life. When I had my pelvic pain and how much I was making myself suffer even more so. So for me, I lost a testicle in my pelvic pain. The infection I had in there, unprovoked, so no sexual interaction beforehand, just a very weakened and compromised immune system. If you know my story, you'll know this story well. I lost a testicle, and I was so fearful for my fertility, and I was livid. I was absolutely livid with the urologist, with the world, how unfair, how unjust this was. Will I ever be able to have a family again? Will I ever be able to have a partner? Will I ever be able to have sex again? Will I ever be able to feel sexy or attractive to someone? My life is ruined. This is all over for me. And I blamed all of that and I directed all of that anger and venom at the urologist who failed to take me into A&E and he just sent me home saying this is a twisted testicle. I was enraged by that person. And man, did I let myself really suffer from that as well. Now, I bottle up my emotions, something I'm working with my therapist on at the moment. I'm very good at that, about keeping a lid on things. It ain't helpful for anyone, for me, for anyone else at all. Can you see in the examples I'm giving that pain is inevitable when you have pelvic pain? It's in the title. It's what causes part of the problem in the first place. But how we respond to those symptoms can make a really, really big difference. Can you find glimmers in there? Can you find hope in there? Can you find an opportunity to be in a slightly different way? And I'm going to read another message um, from the Recover program that we're currently doing here as well. Yeah, here we go. Um, so this is the path I took through my pelvic physio. In the first session, she asked me if there's been any period of no pain or thinking about it. I said 15 minutes that day. I had 15 minutes of not thinking about um, um, or having any pain that day. She said, use that, give that your attention. If you did 15 minutes, you can do it again. And the next time it might be longer. That is finding that break in the clouds. That is finding that glimmer of hope. That is finding um, that it's opening up to the spectrum of suffering in a different way. That is realizing that there are wins available for you. How much you suffer is often dictated by how much we suffer ourselves to the second arrow. Can you suffer slightly less? That's my question for you at the moment. Come back with some examples. Demonstrate to me that this is possible, even a chink in the armor. I gave some great examples last time. About recognizing wins and what wins might mean to different people. It's so important that you recognize those wins. You know what? Next week, I'm going to do a session on a wins journal, not a pain journal, but there you go. I'm going to bring that one forward. I was going to send that. I was not going to do the episode on a wins journal for a few weeks, but next week to really carry on this theme, we will cover a wins journal. So you get to start logging these things. You get to start recognizing and working on these wins, the glimmers that you're having. That's it for me. My name's Karl Monahan. How many arrows do you have? How many arrows does your pelvic pain have? This is episode 32. Do feedback to me. I'd love to hear your comments and your thoughts and your examples from your own life. You can comment and share and like. You can email us at pelvicpainmatters@gmail.com. It's always a pleasure. I hope you're finding benefit from these. I'm really enjoying spending time doing them. I hope you're enjoying listening to me. Till next time.